Hello, y'all. Welcome. This is Cheryl. I let Hubbard Walker. I want to say again, welcome back to my channel. Um, right now, I just want to start with, so glad you can join me. And as you can see, I changed the lighting in my channel. So, on my channel, um, it's much clearer now and it's much brighter. And so I just want to start with a couple of items I have. So accounting, when we're dealing with owner's equity, so owner's equity usually starts with the initial investment of the owner. So in other words, the owners, and say for instance, the owner invests, right here I got 10 million. Owner invests, it's owner's equity. So the owner invests 10 million in the cash account. So what we have here, we have a debit to cash, 10 million, and then we have a credit, owner's equity for 10 million. See, invested, owner invested 10 million to start a business. So that's just one. And then we have another, let me see what I have. Okay. I want to do this one first. So that was owner's equity. So then I have another one, accounts payable. So in other words, accounts payable. This is the transaction at the bottom. It says Sally purchased 10 computers on credit. Sally purchased 10 computers on credit, 20,000. So since she purchased it on credit, we have we want to credit accounts payable 20,000. So it's a credit to accounts payable 20,000. So see, we got debits on the left, credits on the right. Credit accounts payable 20,000. And then we have cash account. Instead of writing on the board, I thought I would just, do it on the just on the paper right now. So, and then I have the cash account. So the transaction is at the bottom. Started a business, invested 20 million. At the bottom, started a business, invested 20 million. Started a business, invested 20 million. So if you started a business and you invest 20 million, you want to debit. See, it's a cash account. You want to debit the cash account. Debit the cash account 20 million. It's a cash account 20 million because I only invested 20 million. So it also would be a credit, as I showed you in the previous transaction. It'd be a credit to owner's equity, 20 million as well. So that's 20 million. And then I have, say for instance, then the owner decides to purchase some land. Owner purchases land. So at the bottom of the transaction is a land purchase for 100 million. So this would be a different company because this is 100 million. But I just say this is Cheryl's CPA LLC. I invested 100 million in my company. I invested 100 million and to purchase land. So that goes in my company. So it would be a debit for 100 million. I purchased land for 100 million. That's a debit to my asset account land. And that's a transaction I did at the bottom, 100 million. So 100 million. 100 million goes into my land account. So then I have this transaction right here. I have nickels. Actually, this could be my business too. Cheryl's Tech, or Cheryl's, as I said previously, Cheryl's CPA LLC. My transaction here is at the bottom. It says perform legal services for client LLC in my LLC company. 700. I perform legal services for a client So that I would, since I perform legal services for a client for $700, I want to credit service revenue, $700, and since they paid $300. I perform legal services for a client for $700. They paid $300 straight out up, so I got $300. I debit $300 cash because that increases my cash account $300, and then accounts receivable. In other words, they owe me $400, so we want to debit. Accounts receivable $400 but they paid $700 straight up. That's my cash account. Then you have the accounts receivable account and service revenue, and it's a transaction right here at the bottom. The transaction performed legal services of $700. $300 came in for cash, so I want to debit my cash $300, and then the balance would have been $400. Accounts receivable. So those are the three accounts that. So usually in accounting, they always say that it affects two accounts, but that was a compound entry that affected three accounts. And this is another company. These are just examples already, So this is I said Nichols paid the following expenses. Nichols paid the following expenses. So he paid rent, salary, and utilities. So in other words, he paid rent $900, salary $1,500, and utilities $500. So those are the expenses that he paid. So since he paid those expenses, when you total them up, they would have to be a credit to cash. We'll have to credit cash for the total amount of the expenses. So we credit cash. That's $2,900 altogether. That's $2,900 cash account. See. Yes, Nichols paid the following expenses. So like I said, rent, salary, utilities, and then it comes out the cash account. So you took out, in other words, you paid the expenses, $900 for rent expense, salaries expense $1,500, then you have your utilities expense $500, and so it's a total coming out of cash on credit cash account $2,900. So that's that one. And so that's on that one. So let's look at class. I did owner's equity. Let's look at the definition of general ledger. It's a complete record of the financial transaction over the life of a company. Over the life of the company. So that's a definition for a general ledger. So when I look at a general ledger, it's sort of like chart of accounts, chart of all accounts in your company. So they're gonna have a copy of the general ledger. So the general ledger, I have cash, accounts receivable, office supplies, notes payable, and capital stock. So these are the accounts in your general ledger, all the accounts that you have. Then at the end, you total them up, and you get your balance on all your accounts. Your balance on your accounts receivables, a balance on all your cash accounts, a balance on your accounts payable, just a balance on each of your accounts. So it's like a chart of accounts, all the accounts that you have for that particular accounting period. So these are the accounts, and this is an example. So general ledger, chart of accounts. I have cash, office supplies, accounts receivables, and I have notes payable, office equipment, and capital stock. See, office equipment right there, and then you have your notes payable, and your capital stock. So at the end, you would total these up, and you have that's what the general ledger is, a chart of all your accounts for that particular accounting period. General ledger. So let's see what I have next class. Then I have definition of a limited liability company. Limited liability company is a corporate structure where members cannot be held accountable for the company's debts or liabilities. So in other words, you run in a company, you have yourself registered in your state. You know, you have to check with the laws of your state when you setting up your company. LegalZoom usually does things like that too. You know, I had LegalZoom set up LLC for me one time before. I had a company called Natural Care, but I dissolved that business because LegalZoom was trying to charge me too much. They wanted uh $600 something just to do the LLC. So I had it set up, but what they told me was that was just for the name. That was $600 just for the name. Then I still had to go back and get different licenses for my to operate. You have to have an operating license. First of all, you have to have your LLC, which you just pick the name, and they give you the LLC for the name of the company that you pick. Then you have to have different licenses to operate your business. And then you might have, it's just different licenses that you might have. You might have to have 3 or 4 different licenses. So I said, that was too much money. So at that time, I just dissolved that business. But this is a limited liability company. It said, and limited liability company, this can shield business owners from losing their entire life savings if, for example, someone were to sue. In other words, you run a limited liability company. Say, for instance, I'm running a company the company I had was Natural Care, and I was going to be making products, making natural hair care products, and because I wanted my own natural hair care line and skin care line. And so I was going to do that, but I was going to mix my own, do my research and find out what goes into it and find out what ingredients would be healthy for your hair. But I wanted all natural products. So, but I had to go through the health, you had to go through the health department and all that. They had to make sure you're in a proper place to, run business like that. So when you're making and you're mixing items, you're mixing lotions and perfumes and skincare, you had to go through the health department to get everything, help you get everything set up. So that's my department. And so, in other words, if you were to be sued and you had an LLC, you would not be liable. And just in case somebody sue you and they try to get into your personal bank account, say for instance your checking and your savings, things of that nature, and they wouldn't be able to get into those accounts because you are limited liability company, LLC. So it says a corporate structure where members cannot be held accountable for the company's debts or liabilities. So in other words, they can sue the company, but they can't personally sue you. So that's what the limited liability is. And they say that's the best business to form, limited liability. So next I have, then you have a corporation, a subchapter, corporation, S Corp, a form of corporation that meets specific IRS requirements and has the benefit of being taxed as a partnership versus being subject to the double taxation with public companies. So if you run an S corporation, you will not be taxed double. They will not double tax you. So you will not be double taxed. You can operate as with the benefits of a partnership versus being subject to the double taxation with public companies. Right. A company that go public, company that's on the stock market, that maybe when they go public, they own the stock. They out on the stock market selling shares of stock. So that means that's what they do when they go public. But this is a subchapter S. So if you file as a subchapter S corp, then you won't be taxed twice. So that's that one. General ledger, I went over that one. On exactly. Okay. I went over those. So then also I want to talk about let's talk about qualitative research. In other words, qualitative research is basically field research. So This type of research refers to the meanings, concepts, definitions, characteristics, metaphors, symbols, and descriptions of things, and not to their counts or measures. So in other words, it's not measuring in other words, measuring percentages. In other words, in statistics, they deal with numbers and all that. That's quantitative research. Quantitative will probably deal with your measurements and all that. So, but qualitative research is like exploratory research. In other words, you want to do some research on a zoo, on the national zoo in your state. You can go on down to the zoo in your state. Qualitative research. Qualitative research. You can go down to the zoo in your state, and then since qualitative research is field research, you can go right down to the zoo and do your research right there, and your interviews right there. You can interview the staff members that work at the zoo, find out how things operate at the zoo. Whatever questions you have for them, you can ask them right down there at the zoo. So you go right down in the field to do your research. So it's called field research. That's qualitative research. And I think I did I do quantitative? And I thought I did quantitative. Let's see. Quantitative. Or qualitative. And also qualitative, just like I said, exploratory. This is qualitative. Exploratory research used to gain an understanding of underlying reasons, opinions, and motivations. It provides insights into the problem or helps to develop ideas or hypotheses for potential quantitative research. Used to uncover trends in thought and opinions and dive deeper into the problem. Focus groups and individual interviews and participation observations. So in other words, qualitative research, you can go down to, in other words, as I said, you go to the zoo. You want to do some research on the zoo. You go down there and to your zoo in your state or any other states that you want to do your research on. That would be good. You go to 4 or 5 different states and just go to their zoo, and you go down to the zoo and you find out about each one of those. That'd be good. That'd be some good information in your research process. In other words, you can say, well, hey, I had 5 different zoos in different states, and I went down there and I went right down to the zoo, right in the field. I went right down there where I could talk to the participants that work at the zoo, the employees, managers, owners, or whatever. And because I said that way you'd be able to observe better because you go right out in the field. So that's qualitative research. Okay, I did do, here go quantitative research. Quantitative research is used to quantify the problem by way of generating numerical data. See, unlike qualitative, it's not numerical, but quantitative is when you quantify the problem, used to quantify the problem by way of generating numerical data that can be transformed into usable statistics. In other words, you are doing some research on, like I said, the zoo. It could be the zoo, it could be, what if you want to do some research on malls, shopping malls in your state, and you want to see what each one of those malls have to offer. So you can do it, you can quantitatively say, maybe 5 of them have stores that sell jeans, but the other 2 does not. So you're quantifying your research by doing that. And maybe 5 of them have a food court downstairs. Maybe 3 of them have a food court down in the basement, and 2 of them do not. So I'm quantifying my research. And then also if I go to talk to them, the employees at the mall, I can see which one of the malls have managers working on the site, and I can quantify that too. Well, in only one mall they had, I may say, well, only one mall they had an on-site manager, but the rest of the malls they didn't. They had managers that was off-site. They had their own office, off-site. not at the mall, but somewhere else. So that's quantitative and qualitative. And then let me say something about back in the day we had two brothers, Wilbur and Orville Wright, and the Wright brothers. They are the two brothers that discovered the first airplane. So they discovered the first airplane, and so that was a long time ago. Let me see if I can find my research on that one. Okay, here, right here. The Wright brothers. The Wright brothers, they discovered, said Wright brothers, they was responsible for building, flying the world's first successful airplane. The Wright, it was called the Wright Flyer in Millville, Indiana. And Orville was born 1867. Okay, the plane took off. I guess they finished building it and everything. I guess they had a vision of how they wanted the airplane to, how they wanted to look, how they, how they felt that it should be built. I guess they did their research, the proper research. And it says in December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers succeeded in making the first free controlled flight of a power-driven airplane. And they flew the plane for 59 seconds over a distance of 852 feet. And they were called the fathers of modern aviation. They were called the fathers of modern aviation. So let me see what else I have, class. Also, I have, let's talk a little bit about, well, one term I had too also called jurisprudence. Theory or philosophy of law is basically dealing with the legal system. And let me see. There's a philosophy of law. So, I don't have too much on that one, but I know it says a jurisprudence, theory or philosophy of law, legal system. And in that system, scholars seek to explain the nature of law in its most general form and provide a deeper understanding of legal reasoning. So in other words, it's basically the legal process, and scholars they seek to explain the nature of law in its most general form. So everything dealing with law, in other words, your in other words, one term I learned too, what's that term? It's called not precedence, but precedence is when you have, in other words, you have a case. In other words, lawyers, judges use, in other words, judges may use one case to look at another case. Lawyers use one case to look at another case. In other words, precedent. This case is important because it has a lot of legal ramifications, and the way it turned out, the ending, the ending of the case, the way that case turned out, I can use this case to look at another case. One case can help another case. So that's jurisprudence, an important case that can help lawyers and judges with other cases. In other words, I use this important case. It's the order of importance. I use this important case because it's similar to this other case that I'm working on. And it says legislative rules of law. So in other words, the legislative rules of law, theory of philosophy, jurisprudence, the theory or philosophy of law. Basically, it's saying that it's a legal system. I guess everything that it entails within the legal system, jurisprudence. So then I have, okay, we did Wilbur and Orville Wright. Okay, in another term I have C programming. So I did a little programming when I was in Strayer University, but I think I only took like one class. So what is C programming? It's portable, it's small, it's the native language, properly written. A C program, if properly written, the C program can run on several computer systems. And C allows variables of different data types to appear in the same expression. So they're saying, why study C? C is a general purpose procedural computer programming language supporting structured programming, variable scope, and recursion. So that's what C programming is. And also C program, if you can create a list of instructions for a computer, that's basically what a program is. Instructions for a computer to tell the computer what to do. So in other words, you might say, I'm not that familiar with programming, but according to my research, it says C has been around for several decades, gives programmers maximum control and efficiency. Compiled language must have access to a C compiler. Free C compilers are available online. So, and then I have another class I was taking. I took C programming down at Strayer University, but then I took a online course called Python for Everyone, and it says why learn programming. Just what they said for Python. Making a living, you can make a living, and also you can solve problems. That's what programming is all about, solving problems, giving the computer instructions. So this is a C programming book. This is a C programming book that I had when I was in Strayer University. So that's C programming. So then you can also see some of the little examples. Some examples of programming. So also yeah, some programs, and right here tell you major arithmetic operations. Major arithmetic operations. So it's something to get into. Programming is good. I want to do a little more studying. Excuse me, and learn some programming. But yes, I don't. I took it down Strayer, but I don't. I'm not an expert in programming, so that's like I said, that's C programming, and also this is a book I also studied. Online class, Python for everybody. This is a good book. This is a good book for and this is a teacher that I had from my online class, Python for everybody, and so Python for everybody. This is some of the program. It's good to learn. I want to start studying some more, programs. So that way, it's good. It's good to learn. And then I also have another book called Computer Programs for Qualitative Data Analysis. So I was talking about qualitative field research, computer programs for qualitative data, and this is the book that I had. I think I used this book, and then here was some examples of some programs. So also I have so many programming books, and also I have Unix bound. This is Unix bound. This is good to learn. This is Unix. This is programming too. It's a beginning approach. Unix bound, a beginning approach. So so this is a good book here because this is yeah, beginning approach. A beginning approach to programming. Mm-hmm. It's like a little chart. I show you how to. So you know, it's good to learn. Programming is good to learn. So I would love to get back into programming. Mm-hmm. And so let's see. All of my programming books. I got 4 of those. So the next one I have, okay, it says programmers. They add programmers add an operating system and a set of applications, and they end up with a personal digital assistant that is quite helpful and capable of helping do many things. Language spoken to computers to explain to the computer what we would like it to do. So in other words, you explain to the computer what you would like it to do. Would you like it to go left? Would you like it to go right? Or would you like it to skip down or skip? In other words, you might tell a computer skip 2 lines. Or so programming is real good. So programming. In other words, I say you need to be able to spell the words in the new language properly and know how to construct well-formed sentences. So, in other words, if you want to be a programmer, you need to learn how to construct well-formed sentences, and you need to tell a story, combine words and sentences, convey an idea, tell a story, and form great sentences. So, those are the 3 things you need to know if you want to deal with programming. So there's I think one last term, I think it's the last one, and it's contract. Contract is a legally binding agreement that recognizes and governs the right and duties of the parties to the agreement. And also we have the elements of a contract. The elements of a contract, we have legal purpose, which is we have legal purpose, consideration, competent parties, and we have genuine assent, bilateral. So in other words, a contract is a legal binding agreement. In other words, you have a house, you have a contract, well, you made a contract with someone, you want to paint your house. Say, I want you to paint my house. You put it all down on paper. I want you to paint my house. I'm going to pay you a certain amount of money. I'm going to give you, say, $10,000 to paint my whole house. $10,000 to paint my whole house. I'm going to give you a certain amount of money. Put it all down on paper because everything, all contracts, $500 or more have to be in writing. And another thing, certain contracts has to be in writing. And anyway, especially when you're dealing with money, I would definitely put my contracts. I would make sure my contracts are in writing when you're dealing with any kind of money. I wouldn't care if it's $100, but say $500 or more, it has to be in writing. But sometimes when it comes to your money, and then certain people you deal with when it comes to money, it's always a problem. So, in other words, I said contract has elements, these 5 elements, legal purpose. So, in other words, here go an example. Sally hires John to paint her whole house and draws up a contract. So, in other words, Sally hires John to paint her whole house, and she drew up a contract. And so, in other words, they both have to have the meeting. First of all, they have to have consideration. You want me to paint your house? You pay me some money. So, painting a house, and that money, the whatever price she gave to him is what she would give him will be the consideration. So in other words, I paint your house, you have to have me some consideration, that's something to value. So money, paint the house for the money. So that's the contract that they had drawn up. And right, consideration, you have legal purpose. In other words, you got a legal purpose, paint my house, I'm gonna pay you, and I'm gonna write everything down, draw up a contract. And we both agree on it. So mutual assent, mutual agreement, mutual assent. Consideration, that's something to value. In other words, paint the house and I pay you the money. And I'm gonna write it down. It's gonna be on contract. And some contracts don't have to be written down. Some people, but I would rather write all mine down, any kind of contract. In other words, you tell somebody, say, and then you have to really determine whether it's a contract or not. In other words, I might be joking and say, hey, if you wash my car, I'll give you $20,000, and then I start laughing. But see, that would not be a contract because I was just joking. But if I'm serious, hey, paint my car. Paint my car, wash my car. Wash my car. I'm gonna give you $20 when I come back. So then you would have to determine is that a real contract or were you just playing? So then you have to have competent parties. In other words, two people entering in a contract, both of them have to be competent. In other words, you can't enter into a contract with somebody that's drunk, on drugs, and even a minor. In other words, you enter into a contract with a minor, you say you want her to, you want her to do something small. Say, look, I want you to wash my dishes for me. I want you to wash my dishes 5 days a week, and I'm going to give you $50 a week. I'm going to give you $50 a week. But if she's not of age, and she's, say for instance, only 12, she can rescind that contract because she's a minor, and that would not be considered. I think that's the other one. That would not be considered a legal binding contract because that would not. I think that would come under. That wouldn't be competent. That might come under competent parties too, because I know it say competent parties. Parties must be competent, of sound mind. Right? Okay, they come under competent parties. You can't be drunk. You can't be a minor, because if a minor can rescind that contract. Somebody on drugs or somebody not in their right mind, and you can't hold them to their contract because it won't stand up in court. So a minor, you can't be. You got to be probably at least, I don't know, I guess 21 and up in order to, so in other words, like I said, you want her to wash your dishes. Wash my dishes 5 days a week. I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you $50 a week, but she's only 12 years old. And but you drew up the contract. You drew up the contract and everything, and you think it's legally binding, but it's not because she's a minor. And then, say for instance, you got a friend and they drunk, and you said they drunk or they on drugs or something like that, and you trying to get them to enter into a contract. You can't force nobody because that would be duress. In other words, if they drunk, that means they're not competent. They're not competent to enter into agreement, enter into a contract. So legal purpose, consideration, competent parties, genuine assent. All parties must engage in agreement freely, right? Because you can't force nobody, which would be duress. Can't enter into a contract due to fraud. That's what I say, undue influence, fraud, duress. So those things that you can't enter into a contract. And some types of contract must be in writing. Sales contract. Okay, it says Jim signed the contract with Tom's tree trimming. He promised to pay the contract that specified sum of money once the job is completed. So that's like a contract. In other words, tree trimming business. I want you to trim my trees in my yard, and I'm gonna pay you a certain amount of money, and I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna put everything in writing, and make sure you have a copy. Make sure I have a copy. So that's going to be, say for instance, I'm giving you $5,000 to do that, and everything seems to be in order. But then also there can be a breach of contract. One party fails to fulfill his or her duties under the agreement. In other words, you signed a contract. You're supposed to trim my trees in my yard, and you signed it, and I agreed, and I signed it as well. And I said I was gonna give you $10,000 or whatever I figured I quoted earlier that I was gonna give you, but I backed out of the contract, and when you came back to my house, I ain't answered my door, and I was nowhere to be found. So I guess the court will wait a certain amount of days. In other words, the man was nowhere to be found. But you signed a contract to get paid, so he would be breaching the contract. That's what they call a breach of contract. And then the other party could breach as well. He might not show up to trim all the trees in your yard. So, for instance, he signed a contract to trim those trees, and he only did 2 of them, never came back to do the rest of them. And it's been months and months and months, and you haven't heard from him. So that would be a breach of contract right there. So that is, I have one more. I think it's the last one I have. And this one right here is called critically reflective, a process of learning. So in other words, when we think about being critically reflective, we're thinking about reflecting back on our childhood, things that may happen to us in the past, or not even, it don't have to be bad, it could be good. But what about being critically reflective through different lenses? Lenses, which are your eyes. So in other words, you being critically reflective. What if you're looking, you visualizing being critically reflective through students' eyes, your colleagues' eyes, or theoretical literature. In other words, you are being critically reflective, and you kind of think. In other words, you might be a 30-year-old person, and you might want to reflect on, and you're a teacher. That's what this basically is about. You're a teacher, and you're 30 years old, 20 years old, 25, but you want to see how things. You want to see how you see things differently when you're reflecting on different things through your students' eyes. In other words, you're thinking the way they think. Basically, I think this is what this understanding I get, being critically reflective. Basically, you seeing things through their eyes. In other words, you're an older person and they're a younger person. Do you see things the way they see things? In other words, the way you feel about certain things, about things in your past, like say for instance you had a hard time, your struggles were harder. So when you think about that through your own eyes, just to think about how you feel about it if you were looking through your students' eyes, because you're supposed to be a teacher. So how would they feel about the same things that how do they feel about some of the things that you are exploring as well, or that you've been through? You might have been through some things, but how do they feel when you sit down and tell them about the things that you've been through? And then you telling them about the things that they telling you about the things that they've been through. So you might see things differently than they do. And they are the ones that have been through it. So as a teacher, as a teacher and learner, your students' eyes or your colleagues' experiences or your theoretical literature. In other words, your colleagues' experiences. What experiences? Your colleagues may have been through some things, and they may sit down and tell you about them. That way, they want to be able to see things through your eyes because they're telling you about the experiences that they had, but they want to see, they want to know about their experiences when they're looking through your eyes. So in other words, it's your opinions about their experiences. So that's what I took from that. So, another word, I think I had these last 2. There's one more, and it's called, it's empowerment. Empowerment, the process of becoming stronger and more confident especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. Empowerment is based on the idea that giving employees skills, resources, authority, opportunity, motivation, as well, holding them responsible, accountable for outcomes to their competence and satisfaction. So in other words, you are empowered. You see empowered. You see strength in yourself. You become stronger, confident. In other words, you empowered. You feel stronger. You feel confident in doing things and moving forward, better in your life maybe. In other words, somebody else might empower you. You might see this lady. She running 2 or 3 businesses. She got a hair salon, clothing line, and makeup line or something. You might be empowered just by what the businesses that she operates. When you see her, and just by seeing what other people are doing, that can empower you and inspire you and encourage you as well. So then, even you can also give a speech. You can give a speech, and just to help help the next generation, or even to help this generation, or help your peers. And the speech that you give about a whole lot of things about the way you view life, things that you've been through, and how you accomplish your goals and your dreams. And somebody might be inspired, encouraged, and empowered by your speech. So I think that was the last one, class. And I want to say thanks for joining me today. And as I said, this is owner's equity, pay owner's equity invested. See, owner invested $10 million in the business. So what we do, we debit cash $10 million, and we will credit owner's equity $10 million. So that's the first one. So I want to say thanks for joining me today, class. And I went over time. I usually try to do at least 30 minutes, but this is 40-something minutes. So I want to say thanks for joining me today, class. And I'll see you on my next video. And I hope to see you on my next video. And I hope you are learning something from these debits and credits. So come back and see me again on my next video. This is my book, Python. I'm going to be working on some more. I'm going to be working on some programming information. So this is Python for everybody. This is a good book too. Pick it up on Amazon if you want to start, programming, because this is for everybody. And so this is the teacher that I had on one of my online courses. So class, thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. It's a C programming book, so it's good. Programming is wonderful. So I'll see you on my next video, class. Thanks for joining me, and you all have a good one.